78.6 FM, Positive Vibes with Winsome. Happy Saturday, Yomatan. Happy Saturday, Okinawa. Happy Saturday to all my friends and family that are tuning in from the U.S., from around the world. I love you. I'm so excited to be back and so excited to have another episode, another day, another opportunity to speak love and life into anyone listening. 78.6 FM, Yomatan, Positive Vibes with Winsome. Winsome, what are we talking about today, man? Well, today, honestly, I wanted to talk about mindfulness. If you were tuning in last week, we were talking about self-love. We went over a lot of components that are important, very important to have built in if you are practicing self-love this year. That's one of your goals. If that's one of your what I say, focuses this year, you definitely want to make sure that you are practicing those things. The episode is available on YouTube if you want to go check it out. That was really a cool one for me to practice out here as I get ready for the live show, right? Live show is exactly what it sounds like. Different angles, different discussion, a little bit deeper discussion than just the 78.6 FM radio version. It's going to be kind of like a podcast-ish type of discussion without all the special guests and always featured on the episodes. So what are we talking about today? What is mindfulness? I can't wait to jump into that, man, on this Saturday morning. As I'm looking outside, if you guys aren't familiar, Okinawa, Yomatan is starting to get a little cool. You know what I mean? It's starting to get a little cool out here. It's not as hot, not as warm as it's been the rest of this year. So we're starting to get into the season where it's raining a little bit and it's getting a little cool. You know, the air is not as warm, but it's still beautiful, right? Still beautiful. A lot of opportunities to walk around, check out what's going on here in the island. Today, as always, I'm going to leave here, go over to my favorite place, Zampa Lighthouse, go reflect on my week, right, and take it all in. I don't care what it feels like outside. Hopefully it's like now because it's really perfect out there. It's not too cold, not too warm. It's really perfect weather, even though the sun's not out yet, right? So, and I guess for me, I would always appreciate being able to start off by saying thank you, showing gratitude to the folks who have supported not only the show, but the podcast when it was rolling last year, the live show coming up, the seminars we're teaching throughout the week, and not only just through the region, virtually, and also, you know, throughout the world when we have opportunities to visit. So I want to say thank you to anyone who has participated, supported, encouraged, sponsored, and shared these experiences with others so that we can continue doing these things in 2024. 2023 was like a movie. When I tell you 2023 was like a movie, I was on a plane ride. I was heading back to see the family. And as I was heading back to see the family, I was noticing that I had a lot of time, right? If you think about flying back to the United States from Okinawa, you have a lot of time. So what I chose to do was to take all of my videos that I had from last year and kind of edit them into, you know, maybe a quick video just to kind of highlight some of the cool things that we did. And I'm going to tell you, Positive Vibes Radio Show, the McDaniel Center, the podcast, the seminars, the live shows, it was the summits. It was such an exciting year, right? And when I was putting it all together, I'll be 100% transparent with you. When I was putting it all together and I put all the videos, the quick segments, the people who were involved, and the audiences, the smiles, the engagement, it was just overwhelmingly beautiful. And it's not that I don't reflect often. That's exactly why I go to the Lighthouse on Saturdays to reflect on my week. And Sundays is to gear up for the upcoming week, right, mentally. But on Saturdays, you can't see all of this all at once. And for me, it went from how the year started. I kind of went in the order of when the year started and how things kind of just grew and blew up and the beautiful opportunities that existed, the trust that people had in me, the support that I had all year, the encouragement that came with every event, the feedback that was beautiful. It was so meaningful. And I think more than anything else, not just feedback. A lot of people think feedback is just compliments or positivity, but sometimes feedback says, hey, you may want to change this, you may want to. Everything that was given was amazing. And I just want to say, I always spend this segment in gratitude. Thank you. Thank you for everyone who allowed this dream and supported this dream and encouraged this dream to make it a reality. Last year was a movie. A lot of wonderful events and opportunities and should I say, a lot of projects already in the works for this year. Some things I got to wait before I announce. You know, I get excited sometimes and I say it before it's actually a reality. So a lot of things are being planned out. There's some invitations already. There's some projects already. As you guys know, the live show is kicking off, filming right now. I'm really excited about that. Can't wait to share that because I wanted it to be different. And I spent the time, if you guys aren't tracking, if you don't know the story, I had a podcast that was out there on every platform that podcasts are listened to. It was Still Standing, You Win Some, You Lose Some. That was the pod. And for me, I was making it and I was getting up and doing the editing and doing the shows and scripts and writing it all out. And I'll tell you, it was not like this. I love coming here on Saturday. I look forward to nothing more throughout the week than getting back into this booth with you. This is the most exciting highlight of my week. The second to this feeling is when I have my monthly segment on the American Forces Network to have that opportunity to speak to the entire region, not just, of course, Okinawa. That is amazing, and this is amazing. I look forward to nothing more than this when it comes to my week, right? So to be able to be here and to be able to do this means the world to me. And I do reflect and I do appreciate and I do want to make sure I'm showing gratitude. And so I tried the podcast out to that point, and back to that story, and I didn't feel this. I didn't feel this energy. I didn't feel this enthusiasm. I couldn't be myself. It wasn't natural. I found myself comparing myself to other podcasts, and I had to block out the noise, but the passion wasn't there. I realized I was doing a podcast just because someone said that I should do a podcast. I wasn't doing a podcast because I was really excited about it. I wanted to launch it. I didn't have the same feeling going into those episodes like I do coming in here to the radio. It was completely different. It was a completely feeling. It felt like an obligation, like I was being forced to do it. Like it wasn't natural. It wasn't a passion project. And if you haven't been tracking me for the past few years, for the past 7 years to be exact, everything I do, I try to find an emotional connection to it. And I struggled with that all year to the point where I kind of felt myself just dialing it in on some episodes. Now, the reception was beautiful. The support from people, especially the folks that made it a point to go out and listen to this show, or that have come to the seminars and found out that the podcast existed, because I was so not passionate about this podcast that I didn't advertise it. I wasn't out, hey, I got a podcast, check out my podcast, here's the link. I wasn't doing any of that. That's how I knew that I had no passion for it, no love for it. There was no emotional connection to continue with it. My teammate would be like, Winsome has a podcast. I'd be like, hey man, and that's where it was going. But I realized what was missing, and that was the emotional connection to do it. There was none. I have a huge emotional connection to this because I still remember the very first day walking into the radio station that was depleted, empty, dusty equipment in Greenland, and saying at that point, I want to start a show. And saying at that point, I want to start a show here, right? And I remember the support, the team that got together and we cleaned up all the equipment. I remember the team from the comm squadron at the time, the team that came in and cleaned up all the equipment, checked all the connections, told me to come back at 3 o'clock so we can test it out. I came in at 3, got off work early that day, and I walked in and was playing around with the equipment and the sound checks. I remember the build-up. I remember the conversations to get approval to reignite and restart the northernmost radio show in the world in Greenland. I recall that right now. I'm picturing what it was like to walk in there, to see the change, to see when it went from a different, or should I say an empty room with just radio equipment, dusted up or dusty cobwebs and stuff in there, to coming back and seeing the effort that was put in to support a vision. And my vision was just this. I remember instead of having a radio show, when I used to type up, if you guys are following, if you were friends with me on Facebook, all of my friends would get this. I would type up little messages on Messenger, motivational messages every week. And I would send that out with like a little cool picture to my friends, just to motivate others, to inspire others, to uplift others, to give them some words of encouragement, because I know the world isn't always easy and life isn't easy. So to go from typing up text messages of encouragement to cleaning up that equipment in that room, getting the entire radio station, a cast of speakers to have a 24-hour radio show for an entire year, and then coming here and having the continued opportunity at the American Forces Network and here at 78.6 FM, Yomatan. It's beautiful. This has an emotional connection for me. I have a huge emotional connection for what we do every week. Taking this energy into our seminars, taking this energy into every class that I teach, every opportunity I have a chance to motivate or encourage, educate, and inspire. Anytime, it's the same energy because there's an emotional connection to it. I didn't have that for the podcast. So if you weren't tracking the story and what I'm saying, I'm grateful for the opportunities that continue. I'm so excited for the projects upcoming, the opportunities upcoming, the invitations upcoming, the connections, the people who have spread my name out there and what I'm teaching and what I'm bringing that are sharing that and saying, hey, you need to get this guy to your base or to your section or to your team. He will uplift you. He will encourage you. He will inspire you. I love that. I got a text I shared with my bestie this morning. Came out of class yesterday. And let me tell you, I went to class yesterday. My day started at 5:30 in the morning. Yesterday, Friday, here in Okinawa. And I remember getting up at 5:30 knowing I was teaching at 7:30. So I got up and my mind was automatically in go mode, right? Go, go, go. So I got up, got dressed, drank my coffee. You guys should be proud of me. I'm not drinking energy drinks at all. This is my second week with just coffee in the morning. I'm very proud of that, by the way. I'm sharing that with you. So I get to the base and I get to the office and I'm just checking over my slides real quick. I already know the material. I have an emotional connection to it. I'm checking over my slides real quick. I'm checking the invitation and figure out where I'm going. And I leave. The event starts at 7:30. I leave out of there probably about 7. And I get over to the area where this is at, and all these buildings are numbered funny, and I couldn't find the building that I needed to be at. It was crazy. People give me bad directions. I got there 20 minutes late to this event. First time this ever happened. But I'm going to tell you, when I left, because I knew I needed to make up that energy that was lost in that 20 minutes, when I left everything I had. Because, not my name is on this. No, I have an emotional connection to what I deliver. I have an emotional connection to these opportunities. And so am I going to leave without giving you everything I have and leaving your mouth on the floor and your heart in your hand? No, I'm giving you everything. And I owe you more because I wasted 20 minutes of your time, and time is my number one value. You see, when you're connected to yourself, this is why self-awareness is one of the lessons that's coming up on this show. That when you're connected to yourself, you're connected and you have an emotional connection to things. And gratitude is easy because you know where you've been. You know what you have. You're not focused on what you don't have. You appreciate everything that you do have, and you give everything you have for it. I'm so excited to be here. 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I have an emotional connection to these moments, to this show, and to the listeners. I'm so grateful for you. I appreciate you, and you are loved. 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. We'll be right back to talk about mindfulness after this quick break. Bye. 78.6 FM Yomaton, positive vibes with Winsome. Hey, we're back, guys. If you missed the first part, I was saying thankful is my gratitude segment, and I would never do this show without that. Gratitude segment to all the companies, CEOs, authors, teams, individuals who educate, or should I say support and encourage what we've been doing for the last year and a half. Positive Vibes is grown. We've expanded, and we're all over the world now, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities to speak life into teams, individuals, units, squadrons, organizations. It's such a beautiful opportunity, and I would not change a thing. So we talked about emotional connection. I talked about the emotional connection I did not have for the podcast and why I deleted it from all platforms. It didn't speak to me. It didn't speak to my heart, who I was, what I wanted, or where I was going. I kind of felt like there were some times I was dialing it in. But I had to be honest with myself, and that's one of those things that people don't do. I had to be present in the moment when I was actually going through those experiences and like, what am I feeling right now? And not just what am I feeling, but what do I want? Do I want to do a podcast for Positive Vibes radio show? Am I doing this podcast because I really feel like I'm speaking life into people? Am I really doing this podcast because it's what I want for this, for us, for everyone who listens? Shout out to Minnie. Minnie, I see you. Thank you so much for the message, and thank you for listening while you're at home. Just want to say thank you. I see your message on the screen, and we appreciate you, Minnie, for the love. Thank you so much. But as I was saying, when I got rid of the podcast and I said, I'm coming back, so I'm going to give all this energy to Saturday. And if I do this thing again, it's going to be the live show. It's not a podcast. I don't even want a similar format to a podcast. I want the live show. I want to utilize the green room. I want to come in here and make this a real show. I want to see what we can do with this energy. How far can I test myself? How far can I challenge myself? Something that if I was watching on the other end, what would I want to see? That was the goal. So the podcast, I'm done, right? I come back to it, and I might even do the live show recordings for a new podcast segment. But until I feel it and until it's in my heart, I'm not going to waste my time. It's not about comparison. It's not about what everybody else is doing. It's what's from my heart. And if it's coming from the heart, then I'll pursue it because I have an emotional connection. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. I want to talk about mindfulness. We're teaching it. You know, if you guys are tracking, I teach a class called Resilience 2.0 right now. And Resilience 2.0 is a combination of the concepts provided in Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar's Happier and Happier No Matter What. More so, happier no matter what. It covers with the SPIRE concept, the SPIRE model, anti-fragility, blue zones. Talks about mindfulness in the spiritual aspect of it. Inspire, if you guys aren't tracking, is spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional well-being. I love it. Well-being. Notice I don't even have to look at slides to tell you this and share this to you. I can tell you this from the bottom of my heart. That is a powerful lesson. Because what we do and what I've done for the last 26 years, they teach us mental, physical, spiritual, and social pillars. Well, what the SPIRE model does is not talking to us about being resilient. It's talking to us about being more than resilient. So if you have a lesson that's teaching someone to be better than they thought at their strongest point, why wouldn't you teach that? That's like being a coach, a boxing coach that knows the secret to knocking someone out, but you don't want to go share it because it's your secret. No. From the pages of that book to the lips I'm speaking with right now, I was sharing that message as soon as I realized how powerful it was. So Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar and the Happiness Studies Academy, you guys are amazing. Everything you guys are doing is magical, appreciated, and I can't tell you how much I really appreciate and love your support, your encouragement. You don't wait. If I tell them what I'm doing, that there's a vision, that there's a goal, and there's a mission to take care of others, to love on others, to speak life into people, the response is immediate. I couldn't have asked for a better team to be an ambassador for. So HSA, the Happiness Studies Academy, you guys have been amazing. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you. But getting back, right? I know I got time, but I just want to get back to what is mindfulness. So I want to give you the working definition of mindfulness before we jump into it, right? So the working definition is it can be defined as the intentional practice of being present in the moment, paying attention to one's experiences with curiosity, acceptance, and non-judgment. You see, mindfulness encompasses both formal and informal practices. These practices are used to cultivate a deep sense of connection to the present moment and an enhanced ability to respond to life with clarity, compassion, and calmness. Man, let me tell you something. I'm a professional coach. You can call it executive leadership coach, whatever you got. I'm working on certs, upper level, higher level certs as we speak. I've gone through the EQ courses. I've done self-awareness tests. Let me tell you the craziest thing about every organized, professionally facilitated course. They start off with mindfulness. You know what the instructor does or the facilitator does? The facilitator says, okay, guys, before we get into this, let's breathe. Or let's take 3 deep breaths. You hear the really good ones. Let's take 3 deep breaths and let's clear the clutter. Let's get everything that was going on with your day, with your week, out of your mind so you can focus on the information that we're about to bring to you. Let me tell you, if professional organizations, these are the industry leaders out there, if that's how they start their courses off, to make sure that you're retaining information and that you're connected to it and present for it, why aren't we doing this in our everyday lives? Because the topics that they're teaching are human relations, self-development, and personal growth. There's a secret people are in your face hiding from you. Let me say that again. There's a secret that's out there that you're just not catching. People are saying it out loud, right? What is it? Hidden in plain sight. Mindfulness is one of those keys. And let me read that part to you again. With clarity, compassion, and calmness. Emotional intelligence, one of the first things, the very first lesson in the emotional intelligence course is self-awareness. You got to know who you are. You have to know who you are. We talked about this last week, right? How you act, think, and behave. Come on. Or should I say think, feel, and behave? It's important to understand those things. Are you self-aware about those things that are going on in your life, right? So when we're moving forward, we talk about formal mindfulness. And I love teaching when we're going into the lesson of spiritual well-being, how important mindfulness is. But we don't go into every opportunity to practice it. Normally when people are thinking about mindfulness, they think about sitting meditation. And if you're not tracking what sitting meditation is, that involves like getting in a comfortable position, right? Focusing your attention to your breath, your body sensations, a specific point of focus. It's being present. It's the practice, the active practice. You see that a lot with all of the meditation exercises that are out there, breathing exercises. We have one on page 44 of the book. That's how much I love this book. Page 44 of the book that actually takes you through Happier No Matter What. It actually takes you through a meditation, one that you can practice. It's a quick, I think when I've done it, it takes about 2 minutes to 2.5 minutes, depending on the size of the group. I might read a little bit slower. But what it does is it takes people through the process of organizing their thoughts, being gentle, bringing their thoughts back to their breath. Taking deep breaths, focusing on each breath. Not allowing your mind to wander, and if it wanders, gently bringing it back. Do you hear what I'm saying right now? This is a practice. This is one of those where I always ask the team or whoever the group is, I'll ask them, I will say, how many minutes are in a day? And I love people, nobody's ever done the math, right? And I'll say there are 1,440 minutes in a day. This exercise took 2.5 minutes. How many people do you think in this room actually practice just breathing? How many do you think give that time back to themselves, which is just to breathe and reset, allow your mind to calm down? And before we get into the meditation, the line that I use is, everybody's busy. And I know you can move, but can you be still? And you should see some of the reactions of the people sitting in that room, right, when they're going through the mindfulness exercise of meditation or the practicing of the meditation. They're uncomfortable. You can see the people whose minds are all over the place because they're moving, they can't sit still. You even see some people, which is funny, their arms will be crossed, right, because they know they can't get comfortable. They're just in an uncomfortable space. But when you start thinking about how that actually benefits you, how the body and mind are connected, and when you take the time to actually breathe through something, to be present in the moment, to not allow situations to emotionally hijack you because you are being present in those moments and you're giving it a second to breathe. So many lessons cover this. Reframing. When you talk about the thinking and emotional brain, EQ, self-awareness. I mean, there's so many classes, even coaching. When we're going through our professional course, they teach you, hey, it's very important to be present in the moment of what someone is telling you and not to think of any preconceived notions, any of the clutter that was in your head before they walked in. Last week's discussion, worried about everything else, to be present in that conversation. So if you're practicing doing that, practicing bringing your mind gently back to focus on what's in front of you, then it starts becoming natural. Another one is your body scanning. A body scan meditation. That's paying attention to different parts of your body, different sensations, right? And those areas of discomfort. And trying to see how you can actually accept those areas, relax those areas. I know for a fact my neck, if I sleep wrong, tense. And then that next night, right, while my neck's been bothering me all day, I just try to relax, try to accept, this is going to hurt, but I still got to get in a comfortable position, and I understand this isn't going to last forever. How do I relax? The little heating thing you can put on your neck, right? Acceptance. Not letting it nag you and irritate you, bother you, but accepting this is what it is, but I got a whole, how many other body parts I need to focus in on and relax right now, to include my mind. Focus on just relaxing. Come on, man. This is 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. I can't wait to continue telling you different ways to practice mindfulness formal. I'll see you right after this break. .6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. Welcome back. You guys know I don't do the music and the hype intro music that I started off with 3-4 years ago. This is all about love, man, and speaking life into people. I don't have a background music to do that for me. I really want to really focus in on the lesson and focusing on the information, man, and the opportunities might exist later to add music if we put this in a different format. But I really want to just use the time that I have and just really appreciate and maximize the time that we have here. So I want to tell you, man, we were talking about mindfulness practices, right? So I got a little list of different practices, and I really got excited talking about this because when we teach formal and informal mindfulness, a lot of people, their eyes and their minds are blown. Like they had no idea. There's so many different ways to practice mindfulness because most people think about formal meditation. That's just one of them. Mindful walking. Listen to me. Walking, I was tripping. I read this in Emotional Intelligence Habits by Dr. Travis Bradberry. Great book, by the way, if you haven't picked it up. But walking slowly and deliberately and paying attention to the sensation of your feet and your legs and observing the environment, that new sense of awareness and presence and being aware of all of the sensations coming through from each step. Come on, man. Did you know you can practice mindfulness just by walking? By appreciating it differently, by expressing or experiencing it differently? Just by taking each step and feeling those steps pulsate through your body and appreciating how you're feeling from each step, radiating through you. The environment, what you're walking through. Think about what you're taking in, the sensations, the sounds, the feel. Like right now, I told you it's getting a little cooler in Okinawa, so taking that in, the cool breeze hitting the wind. It's amazing when you truly understand mindfulness and how powerful it can be. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so when you change the way you experience things, those experiences change. Man, I'm so excited to share this with you. Listen, yoga. People didn't realize when you're practicing yoga, yes, it's different stretches, different forms. But you know, when you're going through yoga, you're emphasizing and engaging in different postures and you're coordinating your breathing. Listen to me. And a heightened sense of bodily awareness and alignment. You know what I'm talking about? They have all these different yoga poses, but think about when they're instructing you through the pose itself. They're also telling you how to breathe through that pose because it's connecting with your body in a completely different way, being present with the alignment of your body in the form. Come on. So if you didn't know this, so much more than just exercising. This is part of spiritual well-being when you're approaching these things this way. That's the first piece of the SPIRE model, right? Another one, Tai Chi, you've seen it, right? Everybody thinks when they see Tai Chi in a lot of different places that people are like doing martial arts practices. No, guys, Tai Chi is performing slow and flowing movements, breathing with focused attention. And what this does is giving you those movements, the breathing, and again, it's helping you align and connect with your body in the flow and being present with the earth and the elements around. Woo, buddy. Tai Chi is another way to practice formal mindfulness. One that I thought was really cool was loving kindness meditation. That's appreciating life differently, right? Cultivating feelings of compassion and goodwill. It's a mantra, a meditative state of just being grateful for life, love, and kindness. A mind state to put yourself in. Another type of meditation. And you can create a mantra and a meditative state from that. Another one is deep relaxation techniques. Engaging in methods such as progressive muscle relaxation. I kind of mentioned that a little bit when we were talking about the body scan, right? And what that does is releases that physical tension. Like I told you, right? I love getting a massage. I try to get a massage as often as I can honestly afford to. But I'm going to tell you, there's sometimes I go in between. Life is beating you up and you feel it because your body is tense in different areas. If muscle relaxation to release physical tension and induce a state of deep relaxation. How do you let it all go? There's ways to practice that and get there to where instead of being all tense, how do you relax your muscles? If you don't have someone that you're paying to give you a massage, or there's different types of massages as well, but how are you actually relaxing your own muscles and getting into a state of deep relaxation? And how are you making that a meditative state? Guided visualization. And let me say that again. Guided visualization meditation, using mental imagery to evoke a sense of peacefulness and tranquility, often guided by soothing verbal instructions or recorded scripts. Now me, I have the lighthouse. I'm always picturing it. I tell you guys a story all the time when I go up there. What I see, what I hear, what I smell, what I feel. It's those guided, it's someone's like, now picture yourself closing your eyes. Go to a place that you feel is peaceful. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? Come on, man. So for me, I'm standing on top of the lighthouse. I'm looking out at the waves. I'm hearing the waves crashing. Or even when it's a quiet day, I can hear the wind blowing. I feel the sun lightly and gently on my skin. Do you see where I'm going, guys? How relaxing is that? Look, I'm thinking about going right now. As excited I'm getting how relaxing that place can be when you change the way you look at things. When you change the way you experience things, the experiences are different. One of my favorites is eating. And they call this one mindful eating meditation, right? But I'm going to tell you that there's part of the class where I throw a picture up behind me. And this picture, let me get back to who we are and what we're doing. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes with Winsome. We're talking about mindfulness right now, the formal mindfulness practices. Went over a list, some of the really cool ones. I'm talking about formal mindfulness and now the eating meditation. Right, I joke with people because I go to this class and I have this picture. I don't look at it. I know it's there, but the goal is to describe this picture in depth. And I'm going to tell you what I do. The picture is a plate from Bloom Cafe here in Yomitan. Bloom Cafe. So during the class, I show the picture behind me, and I describe the plate to the T. I start off with the salad. And I describe how the salad has these green leaves and lettuce shreds. And there's an orange sauce in the middle of the salad, like a salad dressing, not just a little drizzle. And how I started with that. I talk about how I went from the salad to the bacon. The bacon on the picture, I'm sure it looks like it's thick bacon, but when you bite into it, it's thin and delicious and savory. From the salad, 30 chews each bite, to the bacon, 30 chews. I closed my eyes and I wanted to take the flavors in. I wanted to feel the texture on my teeth. And then I went from the bacon, and they have eggs lightly with some light cheese on it. And there's a little dab of ketchup on the side of the eggs where you can dip the eggs in the ketchup if you want to. Again, this is a plate from Bloom Cafe. I'm describing this plate without looking at the picture, and I'm telling everyone. So I said I dipped the eggs in the ketchup, and I would taste it. And what I did, I went from the eggs. I really wasn't a fan of the ketchup, but I ate it anyway. And I went from there to the French toast that was on this plate. And on the French toast, there is a jar of syrup in the middle of the plate. And I wanted to put just enough syrup on this French toast to not drown it, just drizzle it so I can taste the texture and the flavors of this French toast. Feel the texture, taste the flavors. With just enough syrup. And I would end it with saying, did I get it before I look? I said, did I get it right? Did I miss anything? And everyone in class would be like, no, you got it. You're perfect. And I would say, you know why I remembered that meal? It's because I savored that meal. Listen to me. The art of savoring. I savored that meal. I took 30 chews for every bite. I wanted to taste the flavors. I wanted to feel the texture. I wanted to remember this meal. And when we're talking about savoring, and when you're talking about spiritual wellness and mindfulness, savoring not just a meal, a food. Again, that was from Bloom Cafe. It was a delicious meal, wonderful breakfast. I love going there. It's a wonderful ambiance as well. But if you can savor a meal that way, what about savoring experiences? What about savoring conversations? And when we talk about, I give examples. I say, if you don't know what I mean by experiences, when you see a sunset in Okinawa, does it look the same every time? No. If you really truly look at the surrounding of a sunset here, the colors are always beautiful, unique, and different. The clouds are always beautifully painted in the sky. The sun is usually a beautiful hue, beautiful tint going down, and it's like a movie scene being painted, like an artist crafted every sunset that we get. And I said, when you start looking at every sunset as just a sunset, you stop savoring. I said, when you go to these beaches in Okinawa or these beautiful sceneries in Okinawa, does every one of them look the same? And you get people looking around and no, you're absolutely right. But when every beach start just becoming a beach in Okinawa, you have stopped savoring the experience. Because you're not taking in the beach structure, the sand, the different areas you can look at, the different views and perspectives and the different, come on, as far as the eyes can see, is beautiful. You forget how when you go out into that water that it's clear, that you can see all the way down. And for me, that used to be scary because I don't want to see what's looking back up at me, right? But now I go out there and I'm enjoying how beautiful to be able to have a peek into another world every time I'm out there in the water. That, my friend, is savoring the experience. And that, my friend, is part of practicing formal mindfulness. All of these things that we've listed. And yes, we start with the meditation and formal breathing, but when you're going through the act of being mindful, you are connecting with yourself. You're connecting with the things around you. You're being present with those experiences. And when you're being present with those experiences, family, you will experience them differently every time. Every time I go up to the lighthouse, when I climb those 99 steps, it's the first time for me. I experience and I look for something new. It doesn't have to mean or it doesn't have to be when I go up either. It could be the walk into the lighthouse, talking to somebody behind the counter about something different that they're offering, like a calendar or a trinket or the things that I buy as giveaways for the seminars that we teach. Going in and looking at the pictures of all the other lighthouses throughout the region. Opening up the link to the website before I go up just to get a new appreciation for what a lighthouse's cause is or its purpose. The story, the celebrations, I think we're coming up on, I want to say 50 years. Yes, 50 years for the Zampa Lighthouse. And understanding that and appreciating those things before you go up, let me tell you, it changes the experience. It changes the journey. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you experience things, it changes the experience. Every lighthouse isn't the same. Every sunset is not the same. Every day is a blessing. Every step is a gift. Every person you come across, every conversation, every meal is a gift. If you guys aren't tracking, one of the wisest men in our time once said, you can see life as one of two things or in one of two ways. As if nothing is a miracle or as if everything is a miracle. That man was Albert Einstein. You can see life in one of two ways. As if nothing is a miracle or as if everything is a miracle. And I choose, and hopefully you do too, to see every experience as a miracle. Because it is. This place is a beautiful example of being in a miracle. This Blue Zone. We'll be right back after this break. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. I still love when I click and move the zoom, and I always have a smile as I see the panel open it up. I want to open up to a smile. I learned that from Blend Rico. She had me cracking up. It's like we're getting ready for a pick every time the segment gets started, right? 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. So excited to be back talking to you. I was talking about formal mindfulness before the break. What it is, what it means, how to practice formal mindfulness, right? And I really enjoyed that lesson when we're talking about mindfulness and spiritual well-being. Again, shout out to Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar in the Happiness Studies Academy, because before I read that book, I had no idea how many different ways existed to practice and experience mindfulness. And we're talking about informal now. We talked about formal first, and then now we're going to talk about informal mindfulness. And a lot of that doesn't take a lot of work. You know, I told you we do that sometimes without even realizing we're doing it. So I'm going to break it down and try to give it to you in ways that make sense when you're practicing informal mindfulness, right? One of the ways to do that is bringing mindful attention to everyday tasks. Just being present, washing dishes. Look, how can I be informally mindful by washing dishes, doing the laundry? Listen to me, man. I've done that. You ever get caught up as a kid washing your hands and you're watching how the water flows across your hands? You're feeling the sensations of the water, and sometimes you play with the temperature. I was a kid. You know, you guys remember this. I play with the temperature a little bit so I can feel the different sensations. One of my favorites was being in a tub and watching what a long, prolonged exposure to the water does to your skin, right? Because what we say, we get a little wrinkly skin when we were kids. We used to love being in there until you see that moment. Oh, it's time for me to get out. Got wrinkly skin, right? Taking a few moments to pause and think about and relax and breathe before you send an email or text message. We're talking about informal mindfulness. Because some people, they'll just pop off. They're feeling the kind of way. That's the message they're sending. If you're my friends here in Okinawa, we as Americans, sometimes we get impulsive and we just respond emotionally. Sometimes situations emotionally hijack us to where we respond quickly. And then after we respond, we regret it. Why do you think they created this function on the phones now where you can delete messages, edit messages, and even on emails you can recall it? Not just because you might have sent it to the wrong person, but because you might have said something that you didn't want to say. One of my favorite teachers taught me, he said, hey, before you send an emotionally charged message, just read it. Let it sit for a minute. Come back to it. Write multiple versions if you have to, but don't send the one that you want to when you're initially emotionally charged, because you're emotionally hijacked and you're sending an emotional reaction. What do we talk about? The thinking brain and the emotional brain, right? How do you balance the two out and get closer to the logical brain? So that is what one of my favorite teachers taught me. Don't send the first message if there is an emotional charge behind it. Because I was that guy. Trust me, I've had to have that talk with supervisor. Hey, I understood what you were trying to say, but maybe you should just think about if that's the messaging you want to send. And usually it was. But at the time, I said, I can see on a professional aspect why I should have maybe taken a breath, taken a moment, paused before sending that message, right? Hey, mindfully listening to others without thinking about what to say next. I talked about that, right? Especially as a coach, one of the things we're supposed to do is truly listen mindfully, truly have mindful listening. We changed it. The military, we talk about active listening. That was one of the biggest things we push and punch, active listening. But for me, one of the biggest things to practice this year and last year was empathetic listening. Empathetic listening is I might not have gone through or going through what you're dealing with, but let me try to meet you where you're at. Let me try to emotionally connect to what you're feeling and understand what you're feeling so that whatever I say next is connected to what you're relaying to me. Not what I want to say or think, but what you're trying to convey so that you can know that I'm connecting to what you're saying and that I'm meeting you where you are. Empathetic listening. We call it mindful listening, right? Without thinking about what to say next, Are you just taking in what that person is saying? Another one is noticing the sensation of water while taking a shower and washing your hands. The same thing as washing dishes. Another one's bringing full awareness to the taste, texture, and aroma of food while eating. I talked about that in the formal mindfulness meditation. Man, I'm going to tell you, it changes everything. You see you might have seen some food critics. The way they eat their food is different than you eat your food because they're tasting the ingredients. There are some food critics so good that they can take a bite of some food and tell you exactly what's in there, what seasoning you used. You know what really throws them off? When it's a seasoning that they don't expect or that they can't really get a sense of. What is that? I know you've used something. What is that? It's paprika. Ah, I see, right? But a lot of people, when we eat, we just eat. It's good, or it's not good, or I like it, or I don't like it, or based on our own sensations, what we expect or what we want. But when you experience food differently, when you go in looking for the different taste, the different aromas, the different feel, how it fills your belly, how you feel when you're eating it, right? The texture. So I know some people like that. They can eat a good steak. They know exactly how they want their steak cooked. I'm like that with my burgers. My burgers have to be a certain texture. I love here in Yomitan, my favorite place to go was Atabi's. Here in Okinawa, that's my favorite burger joint. This part of Okinawa. There's also another joint in Miyako that I enjoy. But here in Yomitan, Atabi's is my jam. I go there every week. And they know I'm about to get a t-shirt and wear one of my episodes. I'll probably invite one of the cooks here to talk to y'all. But Atabi's is my jam. I love eating their fries. And I'll tell you exactly what I get every time. I love the way it tastes. I love the texture. I love the feel. So I go to Atabi's and I get the burger, the double cheeseburger. The bread is perfect. I get the jalapeno poppers, the fries, and the mango juice. And every one of those pieces has its own story to tell. And I love it. The burger is perfect, juicy, dripping out the side. The cheese is, I always say, light mayo, so I can just get a good taste of the burger. The jalapeno poppers, just the right amount of jalapenos and cheese is split in half, wrapped in some ham. Man, I want to go get it right now. That's my meal right after the lighthouse today, right? So let me tell you, experiencing these things differently that you may not have tried before. What I tell you is the little things in life. Watch this. Pausing to take deep breaths when feeling stressed or overwhelmed. Being able just to take a breath. Don't allow things to emotionally hijack you. And I'm going to slow down with that word. Don't allow people, places, or things to emotionally hijack you. Take a breath. Remember who you are. Remember how powerful you are, how far you've come, and some things aren't worth reacting to. Practicing mindful communication by speaking with true attention and intention. Come on, man. Mindful communication by speaking with intention. Oh, my goodness, that's powerful. And attention. I'm responding to you not just because I want to or what I want to say. I'm responding to you in a way that I know is intentful, that these words matter. And I'm giving the attention to whatever is in front of me. I'm paying attention. I'm reading the room and I'm reading whatever you feel because I'm listening to you and I'm addressing you empathetically. We're communicating, we're vibing. I'm mindful of our conversations and what it means to you. I'm mindful of what you see in me and I'm understanding what my words mean to you and how powerful words are. Attention and intention. Yo, these are just a few of the ways to be mindful, right? This is the radio show version of a mindfulness lesson. 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I'm so grateful to share this information with you. A lot of this is usually shared with slides and teaching and activities, but just to break down some of the components from a shorter version of the mindfulness lesson, thank you for listening. Being mindful can save and change your life. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. I can't wait to be in the booth with you next week. I think next week I'm going to cover down on more emotional intelligence. And I can't wait to share the truth of EQ with you. 78.6, you are loved. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. See you next week.